Hello and good evening, students, and welcome to Baidu's Exam Prep IAS. Just a little minute. Yeah. So I know many of you must have had your classes up until now, and you got free only like 2-3 minutes ago. So we also had a little delay in joining. I'm so sorry for that. So let us start with today's webinar. Today again we have a weekly current affairs webinar where we'll be taking a look at various topics that were in news in the last week, in the past week. Good evening everyone. Just please settle down. Good evening. Okay, so here are the topics. First, we have Osiris Rex. So a mission was sent by NASA. Osiris Rex. What is this mission? What was the purpose of this mission? And what is the significance of that mission? All that will be covered in the first topic. The second topic is about a tree known as Conocarpus tree. Now, why is it in news? Is because it has been banned in some states of India. Why it has been banned? We'll take a look. The third topic is about Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. If you remember last week, we had our webinar where we talked about the father of Green Revolution, Norman Borlaug. That time I asked you a question, who is the father of Indian Green Revolution? It is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, as many of you correctly stated, right? Just the next day, on Thursday, last Thursday, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, he passed away. And we'll try to understand in this topic what all significant things he did during his entire lifetime. Am I audible? Am I visible to everyone? Just let me know. Okay. So if anyone has any problems with the audio or the video, please refresh your screen. The fourth topic is about disease X and monoclonal antibodies. So this topic is from Science and Tech, from the medical section of Science and Tech, the diseases and the medicine section. The next topic is from Energy, offshore wind energy plant of India. Now recently the first wind energy plant, a tender has been put out for that, for offshore wind energy, not general wind energy. Okay, we'll take a look at what is offshore wind energy, why is it beneficial over the normal wind energy plants. Next topic is about Zealandia. What exactly is Zealandia? Is it the eighth continent? Has that been declared? Why is it a continent and not an island? We'll take a look. And lastly, we have a section known as shorts. Under this section, we have very short topics which might be very useful for your prelims. Under this, we have three topics. The first topic is about 8 core industries. The second topic is about social bonds. And the last topic is about Toto Shabd Sangrah. Okay, so let us start with our first topic for the day. We are already a little late, so we'll try to cover everything within time, that is till 10:30. So the first topic is about the Osiris Rex mission. What is the full form of Osiris Rex? Origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification, security, regolith explorer. Okay, so basically the entire purpose of the mission, it is in this full form. Origins, trying to understand where did life originate from on Earth. Spectral interpretation, trying to understand the composition of the asteroid where Osiris Rex went to. Resource identification, identifying whether or not there are certain resources that can be useful for human beings on that asteroid. And security, why? Because there is a possibility that in the future an asteroid might come and hit Earth, like it is speculated it hit Earth when the dinosaurs existed and it led to a mass extinction. Okay, so Osiris Rex mission, it has dropped a capsule, a small capsule in the Utah Desert. Utah Desert is in USA. So it has dropped a small capsule in the Utah desert of USA with samples from an asteroid known as asteroid Bennu. Okay, the name of the asteroid is asteroid Bennu. Please remember this. Now, where is asteroid Bennu? You can see it over here. So this image, this is a live image, how the skies looked on 1st October 2023, just 2 days ago at 7:40 p.m. So at that time, this was Bennu. It is samples from this asteroid known as Bennu. They have been taken by this mission and it has been dropped on Earth now. Now, scientists will try to study these samples and understand the composition of asteroid Bennu. Okay, so asteroid Bennu, please note, this is the orbit of Earth. Okay, so asteroid Bennu is very near to orbit of Earth. Usually, the asteroid belt, it exists between the planets Mars and Jupiter. So maximum of the asteroids of our solar system, they exist between Mars and Jupiter. However, there are certain asteroids that have come near to Earth, that have bypassed this limit of Jupiter and Mars and come near to the Earth orbit. Okay, so Bennu is one type of that asteroid. Okay. Now, a little bit about the OSIRIS-REx mission. Now, this mission was a NASA mission by NASA. Okay, NASA is the space agency of USA. Now, it was launched in the year 2016. That means from Earth, this mission launched in the year 2016. It reached the asteroid Bennu in 2 years, in the year 2018. However, its mission was what? It had to land on this asteroid, pick up samples, and come back to the Earth and drop the samples of that asteroid on Earth. That was the mission. It reached Bennu in 2018. However, it was not able to get the samples in 2018 itself. It took almost 2.5 years. Wait, I'll come to your point, okay? So it took almost 2.5 years for the OSIRIS-REx mission to grab the samples from Bennu and drop it on the Earth. Okay, so it landed, it didn't exactly land, it grabbed the samples from Bennu in 2020 and it dropped the samples on Earth in 2023. So what were the problems that OSIRIS-REx faced? Why was it not able to grab the samples earlier? The first problem that it faced was that because Bennu is very small in size, in the next slide we'll talk about details about Bennu. Now Bennu is very small in size, so that is why its gravity, it is also very small, right? Now usually it is the gravity of a planet that allows or keeps any body attracted to it enough so that the body can orbit around this, right? However, Bennu's gravity was very less, so it became very difficult for OSIRIS-REx to orbit Bennu. That was the first problem that was being faced by OSIRIS-REx. The second problem is it had a very craggy, uneven. You can see how uneven the surface was. It was very uneven in nature. And because of that, the height measuring instruments of OSIRIS-REx, they were not able to exactly calculate the height of the various material on the surface of OSIRIS-REx. So it was not able to drop itself, grab the stuff and move away. So because of all these problems, it took approximately 2.5 years for the OSIRIS-REx mission to identify a location on asteroid Bennu so that it can go grab the material and come back to Earth. This finally happened when? In the year 2020. Lakshmi, craggy surface means that the surface was very uneven. It had a lot of sharp stones. Okay. Akhilesh, I hope your issue is also resolved now about craggy surface. Simran, Benny, it's not Benny, it's Bennu. Bennu is the name of the asteroid where Osiris Rex went, grabbed the samples, and dropped the samples onto Earth. Now, the scientists will study these rock samples from Bennu and try to understand more about it. Now, it undertook a touch and go sample collection. It did not land here, grab the samples, and go away. It came nearby, grabbed the samples, and instantly returned. So, it did this. It didn't come here, land, grab the samples, and go away. It did a touch and go sample collection. Now, after releasing this capsule, Osiris Rex is releasing a capsule, released a capsule with the rock material, the rock samples from asteroid Bennu. Okay, it has dropped that capsule in the Utah desert. Now, after releasing this capsule over Earth in Utah desert, the spacecraft Osiris Rex will fire its engine once again. It will once again go to another asteroid to get samples from there. So Osiris Rex mission, it that spacecraft, it had gone to Bennu, it came to the orbit of Earth, dropped the material on Earth. Now it is going to another asteroid known as asteroid Apophis. It will go there in the year 2029. It will reach in 2029, grab the samples once again from Apophis and come back to the Earth. Okay. Okay. Shivam, it was okay. So Shivam is asking, if it didn't land, why was it fearing about the craggy surface? Because if the surface was not smooth, it would have been a little difficult for Osiris Rex to collect the samples. It might have the craggy surface, the sharp edges of the stones in that location, it might have destroyed the various sensitive components of Osiris Rex. So that is why it had to search for a perfect spot where it can go and collect the samples. Okay. Now, Apophis, please note, Apophis is also an asteroid. So this is Bennu, this is Apophis. This is also an asteroid which is very near to the orbit of Earth. It is also not in the asteroid belt of the solar system. It also lies near the orbit of Earth, just like Bennu. Now, Osiris Rex will go to Apophis, collect samples once again, and send it back to Earth. So this will happen in the year 2029. For this purpose, the name of the mission has been changed. For Bennu, it was Osiris Rex. Now the new mission name is Osiris Apex. That is Apophis Explorer. So this is the new name of the mission, Osiris Apex. Okay. Now a little bit about asteroid Bennu. Now, asteroid Bennu, please note, it is very carbon-rich asteroid. Okay, so according to our telescopes, we watched the asteroid through telescopes, and through those studies, we were able to identify the material it is made up of approximately. So it is carbon rich in nature. Now that we have the exact rock samples, we'll be further able to identify what exactly are the components of the asteroid Bennu. Now, the size of this is quite small. It is only half a kilometer, very small size, and that is why its gravity is also very less. Okay, so as massive the body is, more will be the gravitational force of that body. Okay. So the size of this is about 1/3 of a mile, or in metric system, it is about 0.5 kilometer. So at its maximum width, it is only 0.5 kilometer. Okay. What is the age of this asteroid? Just a little bit less than Earth. Earth is what? 4.6 billion. This asteroid is 4.5 billion years old. Now, it is a possibility, according to the scientific community, it is very much possible that this asteroid, it broke off from a larger asteroid. So, it is a broken part of a larger asteroid. This breaking happened about 700 million to 2 billion years ago. So between this time frame, there was a bigger asteroid which got broken up and we got asteroid Bennu. Now, what is its distance? What is the distance from the sun of asteroid Bennu? It is 168 million kilometers. What is the distance between Earth and sun? Anyone can tell me? Earth and sun distance? Okay. So it is 150 million, approximately 150 million kilometer. And this 150 million kilometer is also known as one astronomical unit. Okay. Now, this was likely formed in the main asteroid belt. The main asteroid belt is what? Between Mars and Jupiter. And later on, it drifted closer to Earth. This is Sun. This is, say, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter. Earlier, it was between these. Later on, it slightly drifted and came near to Earth. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of such an asteroid mission? Why is it so beneficial for us? See, the first point is that recently NASA has released an information that it is very much possible that this asteroid Bennu might hit Earth in the year 2182, in the month of September. Okay, so it might hit Earth in 2182. So if we want to launch any kind of mission to deflect the path of this asteroid, we will first need to identify what all materials is it exactly made up of, what is the density of the material, and accordingly what will be the mass of this entire asteroid. Because unless we know the mass of this asteroid, we would not be able to send a mission that will push this asteroid with a force that will lead to change in its orbit, right? So that is why for planetary defense purposes, it becomes very much essential that we are able to identify what all materials is it made up of and what amount of force will be required to push this asteroid away from its course, okay, so that it does not hit Earth. Next, because it is carbon rich, so many scientists think that it is very much possible that a similar asteroid in the past history of Earth, a similar asteroid came and hit Earth, and it was this asteroid that brought along with it the primordial life on Earth. Okay, so there is a theory that an Earth was hit by an asteroid. This asteroid had some very ancient life form, the primordial life, basically cellular life form, and eventually this was responsible for entire life on Earth. The trees you see, the plants you see, the humans, the animals, everything was possible because this asteroid, it brought life on Earth. So that is why the scientists, they want to study this carbon rich asteroid and try to understand that is this possible, whether life started on Earth itself or whether some random asteroid came and hit Earth and brought life with it. Also, asteroid mining. See, we are trying to understand the composition of the asteroid. Now, of all the asteroids that we have studied through the telescopes, we haven't had sample of any asteroid sent on Earth ever. This is the first time this is happening. Up until now, all the studies that we had done of the asteroids was through telescopes. Okay, so We will try to understand further the composition of this asteroid. We'll try to understand whether it has certain resources that might be mineable. We can mine those resources on that asteroid, and a spacecraft can fill the resources in itself and take it back to Earth. Okay, so we are trying to do that as well. Also, there is a possibility that there might be some water in frozen form on this asteroid. So we'll try to understand that as well. And apart from mining the minerals from the asteroids, we can also mine water out of those asteroids, especially for what? For our interplanetary journeys. So what will happen if we have established a colony on Mars? We know there are so many asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. Now, Mars does not have water in the consumable form. So, what we'll do, this colony will send a spacecraft on one of the asteroids that we have identified has water, mine the water from here, and send it back to the colony. Okay, so for our future interplanetary missions, it is very beneficial for us to try to explore it. Madhur, definitely this will be very expensive, definitely. But the thing is, we are just trying to explore because minerals are very exhaustible resource. We are using so many minerals right now. Many of them are getting exhausted in certain locations. So we are trying to find new and new ways to get those resources. Okay. So that is why we are targeting these asteroids. Now, it will also be it can also be a pit stop for our future missions. For example, if we want to send a mission, say to Neptune, okay, if we develop technology that we start sending manned missions to distant planets, the planets like Jupiter, like Neptune, like Uranus, right? So for that, these asteroids in this belt, they might act as a pit stop. So from Earth, they will first go to an asteroid. The mission will first go to an asteroid, stop over there, replenish its water resources and any minerals it requires, right? And then it will go to the further planets. So it can act as a pit stop for our future mission. Okay. So these are the all benefits, the possible benefits of this asteroid mission. However, there are certain challenges in using the asteroids for these purposes. The first problem is definitely, as someone stated, it will be a very expensive affair. Right? Mining minerals and water out of these asteroids, it will be very expensive. So only certain countries might be able to do this job. Rest of the countries, they will not be able to get the benefits out of this. Second problem is that these asteroids, they are small in size, so they have low gravity. They have low gravity, so it is not possible that any particular mission it can orbit across that particular asteroid. Because what happens is that when any mission wants to land on an asteroid, land on any celestial body, it first orbits it, reduces its speed during the orbit, and then it comes down on the planet. So orbiting becomes a necessary part for deceleration of that body, okay, of that spacecraft. This cannot happen if the gravity of the asteroid is very less. So that is another challenge. The third challenge is that it does not have an atmosphere. These asteroids, they do not have any atmosphere associated with them. Because they do not have an atmosphere, they cannot protect the equipment or the people who are landing on that asteroid from the harmful radiations of the sun. So there might be radiation exposure to the machinery, radiation exposure to the people who land on these surfaces. So these are the three major challenges associated with any such asteroid mission. Okay, so Femina is truly saying that outer space, there is a treaty that outer space benefits, all the benefits derived from the outer space, they should be common to all the nations. See, that is true for high seas also. In the high seas also, any benefit that is derived from the high seas should be distributed amongst all the nations. But many nations, they do not have big enough ships to go to the high seas and do fishing in the high seas. So only the developed nations are getting benefits out of it. It is a common, it is a global common. Outer space is also considered as a global common. Anyone can use it. We do have theories associated with it. In the future, how these treaties they work out, that will be something that will need to be seen. Okay, right now we cannot predict how the outer space treaty will affect asteroid missions or asteroid mining. We'll have to take a look at it in the future. Okay, so Anjali, we do not know the quantity of mineral that can be extracted. Is it feasible? That is a very good question, because right now it is not. It is a very expensive affair. We do not even know what minerals can we get out of those asteroids. We are just trying to understand it right now. Okay, Pratik, pit stop means you are going from, say, Bangalore to, say, Delhi. Now you cannot make that entire journey in a single day. You'll have to take rest somewhere. So what do? You take a rest in Nagpur. You break your journey and take the rest in Nagpur. So Nagpur, the place where you stop, take rest, replenish yourself, have food, that place is known as a pit stop. Okay, so I hope it's clear to all of you. Okay. Now we move to the practice question. The practice question is, okay, Akhilesh, frail means very weak. Harshit is asking, how did it have so much fuel to make space journey after already making one? It got replenished. Okay, it got replenished while in Earth orbit, and now it will go to the next pit stop. Now the practice question is, how many of the following statements are true? OSIRIS-REx mission aimed at collecting rock samples from an asteroid. It is a joint mission by NASA and JAXA. Asteroid Apophis, where the OSIRIS-REx will go after this mission, is located between Mars and Jupiter. Okay, so I'm giving you 15 seconds. Okay. Okay, planetary defense, I'll explain once again. See, planetary defense against any kind of asteroid. You remember, if there are many theories that it was an asteroid that hit the earth that led to the extinction of dinosaurs. Now there is no guarantee that in future such a thing might not happen, right? So how will we protect humankind from getting applied same to the dinosaurs from getting extinct just like dinosaurs did? By changing the path of the asteroid that is coming to hit earth. So to do that, we will have to understand what is the composition of these asteroids, so that we can deploy a spacecraft that hits this asteroid with enough force so that the path of this asteroid, which was earlier this, it might change to this. So this is planetary defense. Yes, yes, Manish, DART mission of NASA, it tried to do the same and it was very much successful. Okay, it deflected a small moonlet known as Didymoon. Okay, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Okay, So most of you have given the correct answer. See, this is correct, right? This, however, is incorrect. It was only a NASA mission. This is also incorrect. I showed you the position of asteroid Apophis. It is not between Mars and Jupiter. It is between Earth and Mars. So A is your correct answer. Okay, now we move on to our next topic, which is about Conocarpus. What is Conocarpus? Now, Conocarpus is a species of trees. Okay, it is a species of trees which is found across many states in India. Now, Gujarat recently became the second state of India to ban the use of Conocarpus species of tree. The first state to do that, it was Telangana. Gujarat is the second state to do that. Now, in the future, other states might also follow this and start banning the tree, the plantation of this tree within their states. So, what will happen then? What will this ban do? If the planting of this tree is banned, what will happen? The nurseries and horticulture people, they will stop breeding of these trees for use in afforestation and landscaping projects. So this is Conocarpus is basically a type of tree, Conocarpus. Now another name of this Conocarpus tree is buttonwood tree. It looks like this. In many of the states, it is very common. From the state where I come from, it's Madhya Pradesh. There also a lot of such trees are seen on the sides of the roads. So this tree was extensively used for many purposes, for many afforestation purposes. So it is basically a mangrove species. However, it can grow in normal soil as well. Now, two of its species, I'll come to why it is banned. I'll come to that. Now, two of these species, they are being used in it in India. One of those species is Conocarpus erectus, which is more widely used in India, and this is endemic to where? South America. Another of this species is Conocarpus lancifolius. You don't need to know these names of these scientific names of the tree. Okay, I'm just telling that there are two major species of this tree. One comes from South America, the other one comes from East Africa. Okay, so they are introduced. Why? Because they are very fast growing species. So what happens is that because they are growing very fast, it becomes easier to fulfill our afforestation targets. So if the target is given that you have to plant 100 trees within say 1 year, so these trees, if they are planted at the locations, they grow very fast, and that target is very much visible that yes, this person or this agency was able to plant so many trees, and you can see them growing. Okay, so because it is fast growing, that is why it was very popular choice for afforestation programs. Now, why the ban? See, the ban is mainly because this is an invasive species. It is not a native species of India. It competes with the native species of India and it tries to grow. So what happens is that because it is not native to India, the native species of India, they have never faced competition from such an external species. Now this external species is very superior. It is able to grow its roots to very deeper levels and extract out all the underground water. So what happens is that the native species, which has very shallow roots, it is not able to compete with Conocarpus to get water and minerals. So these native species, they start dying, and this invasive species, it starts flourishing in the region. So this is the first reason why it is being banned, because it is an invasive species. Definitely, Vetri, this will kill the biodiversity of the region as well, because the native species, they are getting eliminated very fast. Afforestation means growing trees. Ritika, invasive species is a species which is not native to that country. Okay, so this Conocarpus tree is not native to India. It was introduced by humans. It was not naturally growing in India. Saurabh, I hope your problem is also solved. Okay, now I'm coming to the points. See, the tree of these species, first major point is it is invasive species. The second point is this tree, the flowers of the species, they bloom in the month of winter. So when the flowers are blooming, they release pollens, small particles. Now these pollens, okay, these pollens, when they are released into the air, what happens then? Many people have pollen allergy. So people, they start sneezing, they start coughing, they get asthma attacks. Asthma, cold, cough, all these kinds of diseases, they can be spread because of the pollen of this tree. So that is another problem. The third problem is that the roots of this species, they go very deep, as I stated over here. Now when they are going deep inside the soil, and they are getting developed extensively, they have a very extensive and dense network of roots. So what happens, this can sometimes cause damage to the drainage lines that are passing from, say, under that location, or the telecommunication lines. It can also affect the fresh water system. This tree, it might start taking in all the groundwater that is available in the region. So that is why this tree again becomes very dangerous. The third problem is that the leaves of this tree, they are not palatable for local herbivores. For example, there are goats. Okay, now goats, they go and eat trees, they eat the leaves. Now these leaves, they get easily digested by the goats. Now the tree Conocarpus, its leaves, you can see the leaves over here, they are not good in taste. Second, they are not easily digestible by the herbivores. So herbivores, they are not getting any benefit of those trees. They are not even able to eat the leaves of those trees. So these are the problems. Palatable, Anushka, it means that it can be easily digested. But the leaves of these trees, they are not easily digested. And that is why the Gujarat state has banned it. Earlier, Telangana had also banned this tree. Conocarpus ritica, it is a tree which comes from two locations. One of its species comes from East Africa, the other species, it comes from South America. The last point I'll repeat. Last point is that herbivores are the animals which eat the plants. Okay, they do not eat meat, they only eat the plants. They are vegetarian. Okay, so these herbivores, they are not able to digest or eat those leaves. So that is another problem related to Conocarpus. Okay. Okay, Chandrakant, as of now, no, that has not been stated that the existing ones, they will be removed. Only any new plantation of the Conocarpus trees, it will be stopped. Now, what are the other examples of invasive species across India? First is Vilayati Kikar, also known as Prosopis juliflora. A question has already been asked on this invasive species in the prelims exam in either 2015 or 17, some of those years, okay? Now, Vilayati Kikar, it has been banned in Delhi. This is Vilayati Kikar. It looks like this. So Vilayati Kikar, it was brought into Delhi for the afforestation purposes by the British in 1930s. Now this was a very fast growing species. It also, the leaves also used to look nice. So that is why we started growing this tree in the state of Delhi. Why? For the afforestation purposes. However, it has the same problem. It depletes water table. The roots of this tree, they go deep and they start extracting water from the underground systems. Okay, so because this is an invasive species, it is not native to India, brought to India by the British, it also started killing the local competition. It also started killing the native species of India, the native trees like acacia, dhak, kadamb, amaltas, and also the animals that were dependent on those local species, they were now not able to get food because these species, they were eliminated due to the competition with Vilayati Kikar, that is Prosopis juliflora. So finally in the year 2018, a decision was taken to clear the central ridge area of Delhi from this plant. So the plants in central ridge, the juliflora plant in the central ridge region, they were to removed, and native species, they are to be planted in that region for afforestation purposes. It was introduced for afforestation and landscaping to make the scenery look good. Next species is eucalyptus. Many of you might have seen eucalyptus trees. The leaves of the eucalyptus trees, they smell like Vicks Vapor Rub. Okay, so eucalyptus oil is also very much useful for cold and cough scenarios. Okay. Okay, so Shubham has asked a very good question. Is there a difference between afforestation and reforestation? I'll just take a quick detour and tell you. Afforestation is when you are planting trees on a new land which was before this not forested. Okay, so you are bringing new land which was earlier not under the category of forest as a forest land. Reforestation is when there was a forest land, there was deforestation on that forest land, all the trees were removed, but now you are again planting trees over there. Okay, so that is reforestation. Okay, so eucalyptus, it was also introduced by the British mainly because they were fast growing, they were fast growing trees and they could provide a huge amount of wood for the tea and coffee plantations of the Britishers. Tea, coffee, spice plantations of the Britishers, they could provide a lot of wood for keeping them warm or for doing any other kind of activities in the plantations. So they were introduced by British. Now they are native to Australia. Prosopis juliflora is native to northern part of South America, Central America, and Caribbean. Ilma, peppermint is different. Peppermint is pudina or mint. Okay, it is made up of, it is a variety of mint or pudina. Eucalyptus is different. Eucalyptus is a tree. Peppermint is a herb. Yes, Dhyana, Vilayati Kikar is the Hindi name of this particular plant. Yes, Srimant, I'll come to your point as well. Okay. Now, eucalyptus, it was introduced by British and it was used all across the country for many afforestation and reforestation activities. However, in 2018, the state government of Kerala, it stopped the cultivation of eucalyptus. Why? Because it was killing off many of the native species. Also, it was causing a decline in availability of the fodder for the native fauna, for the native animals. The native animals, they used to feed on the native trees. However, because of the growth of the eucalyptus, the native trees, they started disappearing. And that is why we had to remove the eucalyptus plants. So the cultivation of the eucalyptus plants, they have stopped in the state of Kerala because of this reason. Fodder means food for the animals, okay? Yes, Ashwin, eucalyptus oil, it has many properties. It is used for headache, it is used during cold. Okay, if you inhale it with water, like if you boil water and put few drops of eucalyptus oil and take steam from it, that also helps in your sinus problems. Saurabh, the issue with the eucalyptus plant was that it is an invasive species. It was killing of all the native species. Okay, that was first issue. Second, the native animals, they were dependent upon these native species for their fodder purposes. They were also getting eliminated. Now, here is the practice question. Which of the following statements are true regarding Conocarpus tree? It is endemic to South America only. It is a fast growing mangrove plant. It has been banned in Gujarat, Telangana, and Delhi. So I'm giving you 10 seconds for this question. Okay. Okay. So is it endemic to South America only? No. South America as well as East Africa. It is a fast growing mangrove plant. True. It has been banned in Gujarat. It has been banned in Telangana, but not in Delhi. So your correct answer is option A. Now we move to our next topic, which is about Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who was the father of Indian Green Revolution, and he passed away recently on 28 September 2023. Now a little bit about Dr. Swaminathan. He was born in the state of Tamil Nadu in a place known as Kumbakonam. Now, in 1943, there was a massive problem. There was a massive famine in Bengal. So, what happened is that this massive famine, it motivated Dr. Swaminathan to take up scientific study so that he can improve the amount of food that is produced in India. He wanted to improve Indian agriculture. He was greatly touched by this calamity of 1943. So between 1947 to 49, he joined the Indian Agricultural Research Institute to work on plant genetics and breeding in order to develop such varieties of plants through the intervention of genetics that would be very much useful for India, that will help in growing the production of this material within India. In 1954, he collaborated with the father of Green Revolution. M.S. Swaminathan was father of Indian Green Revolution. In 1954, he collaborated with Dr. Norman Borlaug, who was the father of Green Revolution in the world. Norman Borlaug, he was working on certain Mexican wheat varieties, and he developed some varieties of wheat which had higher quantity of grains. So M.S. Swaminathan, he worked with Dr. Norman Borlaug for this research project. He also collaborated to develop certain varieties that would be relevant for the soil of India. He also researched on developing certain fertilizers that would be useful for India. Okay. Between 1965 to 70, he modified these grains to suit the situation of India, and he started encouraging the farmers across the green belt, the wheat growing belt of India, that was Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, to start pilot trials. Now, when these trials were done, through these new varieties of wheat, there was a sudden jump in the production of wheat in those regions. So that was what was Green Revolution. So Green Revolution was basically farmers using the high yielding varieties of wheat. Okay, so that was the biggest component of Green Revolution. Between 1975 to 82, he was the Director General of Indian Council for Agricultural Research. He also became the Director General of International Rice Research Institute, that is located in Manila, Philippines. And doing that, he became the first Asian to hold this post. Now, he was also very much enthusiastic towards working for women farmer, and he pushed this agenda while he was the Director General of IRI to work for women farmers with regards to rice cultivation. ICAR is Indian Council for Agricultural Research. Parshuram only these states because these were here the size of the land was enough for introduction of the high yielding varieties, size of land per farmer. Also, this was a very big wheat growing region of India. So that is why over here MS Swaminathan he introduced this new variety. IRI is International Rice Research Institute. In 1988, he set up the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation in Chennai. Okay, so a question can be asked, where is MS Swaminathan Research Foundation? Or MS Swaminathan, he established his research foundation in Chennai, whether or not this statement is correct. Okay. In 2002, he was also elected as a president of a Nobel Peace Prize winning agency known as Pugwash Conference on Science and World Affairs. This was also first time that an Indian was appointed as a president of this particular association. Okay, so while he was the president of this association, he pushed the agenda further of how conflicts can lead to food insecurity in certain regions and how food security needs to be improved by reducing the amount of conflicts. In 2004, he became the chairperson of the National Commission on Farmers of India. Okay, he became the chairperson of National Commission on Farmers. He released a number of reports for overhauling the national policy on farmers. He wanted the government to improve the access of credit to the rural farmers, make agriculture interesting for youth, increase investment in agriculture research. So he pushed for all these things. In 2005, he joined the United Nations Millennium Project's Hunger Task Force to come up with means regarding how we can reduce the hunger all across the world. In 2007, our then president, Sri APJ Abdul Kalam, he nominated Dr. M.S. Swaminathan as a Rajya Sabha member. While he was a Rajya Sabha member, he still worked. He still wanted to work for the farmers of India, specifically the women farmers. So he introduced a private members bill. A private members bill is the bill which is not introduced by a member of parliament who is a part of the ruling party, who is a minister in the ruling party. So he introduced a private members bill in the year 2012. This bill was Women Farmers Entitlement Bill of 2011. It was introduced in 2013. So what was the purpose of this bill? To increase women's role in the farming activities. Why? Because what was happening is that farming, the income for farming was not enough for running the households. So many a times the male members, they were migrating to the urban regions to find alternate employments, and it was only the females who were left behind in the farms to do the farming activities. So he wanted to work for these females who were alone working on their farms, for empowerment of these women. However, this bill, it could not be passed, and it got lapsed when in 2013. He was also very much instrumental. He was very much instrumental in setting up agricultural research institutes in many countries across the world. So not only was he working for Indian agricultural sector, he was also working at a global scale for reduction of food insecurity. He was also working with other countries actively to set up their own national agricultural research institutes. So what are countries? China, our neighbor, Vietnam, Myanmar, another neighbor, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Iran, Cambodia. He had been instrumental in development of agricultural research institutes of all these regions. Okay. Now there were many international and national awards that were given to him. I'm just stating the names of these awards. Right now, you need not go into detail of what are these awards, who can get these awards. No, only if any Indian gets an award in a particular year, that award becomes important. uh, Here what can be asked: which of the following awards were received by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan? So you only need to know the names of the awards that M.S. Swaminathan received. Okay, so these are the awards that he received. Okay, Pavani, no, the recommendations of the Swaminathan Commission, some of them were adopted, but most of them were not adopted. And even till date, many farmers are pressurizing the government to adopt all the recommendations that were given by MS Swaminathan. Okay. So you can just take a look at these international awards: Raman Magsaysay, Albert Einstein World Science Prize. He was the first recipient, this is important. He was the first recipient of World Food Prize, UNEP Sasakawa Environment Prize, UNESCO Gandhi Gold Medal, Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development. This is given by India, but it can be given to any person all across the world. So that is why we are putting it in international category. He also got the Franklin D. Roosevelt Four Freedoms Award of USA. Yes, Vetri, drought can lead to famine in the longer run. Famine is what? Shortage of food. Drought is what? Shortage of water, right? If there is shortage of water, it can lead to shortage of food because plants need water for their growth. Okay. In the Indian level, at the Indian level, he also received various awards: Lal Bahadur Shastri National Award, Indira Gandhi Prize, and all the three civilian awards: Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Vibhushan. So he has received all these awards. You need not go into the details of the awards, just know that Dr. M.S. Swaminathan received all these awards. Now, what can we learn from the life of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan? See, in the ethics paper in GS4, you are sometimes asked about who is your ideal person, who do you want to become like, or as a civil servant, state one person who you would like to take inspiration from to work forward in your career. Okay, you can be asked questions like that. Now generally people state very generic examples like Gandhi ji, like Vivekanand, right? Now you can also give examples of some contemporaries like Dr. MS Swaminathan. What all do you understand from or learn from the life of Dr. MS Swaminathan? First is empathy. The 1943 famine of Bengal, it inspired him so much that he took up the profession of becoming agricultural scientist so that he can work for these poor people to uplift their lives, to increase their incomes through agriculture, to increase the availability of food to these people. So he had a huge amount of empathy in himself. Second, inclusivity. He worked extensively for poor, for women. So inclusivity across income, inclusivity across gender. He worked for the rural population, right? He worked for all these people. So he was truly inclusive. His thinking was truly inclusive in nature. Environmentalism. He also worked a lot in conserving of biodiversity across the country, especially in the state of Kerala. He tried to introduce a lot of measures so that biodiversity can be conserved in the Western Ghat regions of Kerala. Scientific rigor. He knew the problem existed. He knew that there was food shortage in the country. He wanted to develop some scientific means to reduce that problem. So he developed a scientific thinking so that he can solve this problem. He did not sit in a corner and just cry about the problem. He developed his scientific thinking, scientifically proven through scientifically proven methods. He developed new varieties of wheat, worked with various scientists across the world to bring in green revolution in the country. Okay, so scientific rigor is something else that you can learn from his life. Community engagement. He always wanted the community to come together so that they can raise their demands. They can tell the governments regarding their needs. They can work together. The communities can work together for their betterment, for biodiversity conservation, and other efforts. So he always was a community person. He wanted to bring the community together to solve the problems in any area. So these are the things that you can learn from Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Okay. Now, what are the other colored revolutions in India? Green revolution is for grains, specifically rice and wheat. White revolution for milk. Blue revolution is for fish. Operation Greens is for fruits and vegetables, specifically top, tomato or tomato, whatever, onion and potato. Yes, Neha, this topic will be very important for next year, both prelims and mains. Black revolution is for petroleum, and through this revolution in 1980s, we brought in the idea of ethanol blending. What is the current level of ethanol blending in India? Anyone can tell me now? Current level of ethanol blending in India? This is our target. Okay. Next, green revolution. Sorry, gray revolution, not green revolution. Gray revolution is for fertilizers. Yellow revolution is for pulses and oil seeds. Golden for horticulture products, for honey and for fruits. Then there is golden fiber revolution. Please note that golden revolution is different than golden fiber revolution. So golden fiber revolution is for jute. Then we have brown revolution for coffee and leather. Round revolution. What is round? We have potatoes which are round. So round revolution for potatoes. Red revolution is associated with meat or with tomatoes. So tomato, potato and onion, they have the operation greens, but the revolution associated with them, round for potatoes, red for tomatoes and pink for onions, as well as pharmaceuticals and prawns. Prawn is a sea animal, okay? It is eaten. Then silver revolution for eggs, silver fiber revolution for cotton. Golden was for horticulture, honey and fruits. Golden fiber was jute. Silver revolution was eggs. Silver fiber revolution is cotton. Then protein revolution and evergreen revolution. Evergreen revolution was introduced by M.S. Swaminathan himself to ensure that the spirit of green revolution, it stays in the Indian agricultural sector. Okay, protein revolution was basically a fitness revolution that was introduced by our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Okay, now we come to a question. Now here is a mains type question from ethics. As a civil servant, what values can you learn from the life of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan? Values we have stated in this slide. What all values can you learn from him? You can state certain examples. So here in your answer, you can introduce by telling who is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, why is he so important. Then you can come to the various values, and then you can state in the conclusion that if everyone develops these kind of values, then just like green revolution worked for India's agriculture sector, everyone, there will be many more revolutions which will definitely help in making India a shining star of the world. Something like that. You can end your answer with that. Okay. Now here is a practice question. Practice question is, how many of the following are correctly matched? Just a second. Okay. Madhur, the question didn't demand the importance of MS Swaminathan, only the qualities, yes. But in the introduction, you can write about Dr. Swaminathan a little bit, right? And then you can mention the quality. How many of the following are correctly matched? Red revolution, tomato. Yellow revolution, honey. Gray, fertilizer. Pink, onion. Golden, jute. Ten seconds you're getting. Many of you are already giving the correct answer in the comments section. Okay. Yes, most of you have given the correct answer. Red revolution, tomato, correct. It is also for meat, also for tomato. So both are correct. Yellow revolution is not for honey. It's for oil and pulses. For honey, we have golden revolution. So this is incorrect. Gray is for fertilizers. Pink is for onion. Golden revolution is not for jute. Golden is for honey. Golden fiber revolution is for jute. So this is incorrect. Your correct answer is option B. Next is disease X and monoclonal antibodies. Now, what is disease X? Now, disease X is something that has not yet occurred, but there is a very high possibility that there might be a disease in the future that might cause a pandemic which is even worse than the COVID pandemic. So, this is a disease that we do not know about. We don't know any, we have not identified it. It is just a possible disease that might occur in the future, the pandemic situation due to this disease might be even worse than COVID. So basically, by mentioning this disease, WHO is trying to caution us that COVID pandemic might be just a trailer. In the future, there might be even more dangerous things that might happen to human beings. Okay, that was funny. So has stated disease X is equal to disease Twitter because Twitter has been renamed to X. That was a good one. Okay. Yes, it might completely wipe away humans also. So it is a name given by the WHO, World Health Organization, to a possible new pandemic that might take place in the future. Okay. Now, disease X, according to WHO definition, what is the definition that WHO gave? Disease X refers to pathogen which might be currently known or which we do not know anything about that can cause a large scale serious pandemic which might lead to mass scale human disease and deaths. Okay, so it is a known or potentially unknown pathogen that might cause that disease X, and it will lead to a big pandemic situation, even worse than, many times worse than the COVID pandemic, right? Now it can be many times deadlier than COVID pandemic. We might not know about it. Like in the first wave, so many people perished in COVID. Even though the COVID death rate was only 2%, but still so many people perished because we didn't know much about the disease. In the future, there might be a disease that might come whose death rate might be even higher, say 10% or even more. So, what kind of a havoc will that create? So, WHO wants to warn the world. See, how did WHO come to this conclusion? WHO said that we still have not discovered all the viruses that are present on the earth. We just know about a few thousand varieties, few thousand species we know about. We don't know about millions possible other pathogens that might exist on earth. We have no idea about them, right? So what can be the source of this new disease X? There can be multiple sources. It can be a zoonotic viral disease that might come from an animal. Now, as we are cutting the trees, clearing the forest, living near the forested areas, we are coming in more and more contact with the animals. Also, many animals, many people, they consume many animals, right? So that might lead to what? That might lead to transfer of certain diseases that are currently only seen in the animals, not in the human beings, right? Like lumpy skin disease is only seen in the cattle. It does not come to human beings. In future, what might happen? This disease, the virus or the pathogen that causes this disease, it might mutate itself in such a manner that it can come from animals to humans as well, right? Just like SARS, it came from bats to humans. MERS, it came from camel to humans. Nipah, it came from bats to humans, right? So in future, there might be some disease that currently we do not get. It is not transferable from animals to human. But in future, it might mutate itself in such a manner that if a human is in close contact with the animal, human might get that disease. So that is one possible source. What is the second source? There might be an incident in the laboratory. In laboratory, they might be doing some research on a virus. They might have mutated the virus for their studies. Now suddenly what happens? What the box in which, the glass box in which the virus is there, that that box, it breaks. So what will happen? The virus will start spreading first in the lab, then the nearby region, and then in the country, in the city, in the country, in the world. So an incidental lab accident might also do that. Then bioterrorism. Anyone has watched Pathan? In Pathan, what was John Abraham doing? He had certain pathogens that were created by him, that were created by scientists, and he wanted to release them in India. So this is bioterrorism. Okay, terrorists, they might get hold of certain pathogens which they will say that if you do not fulfill our demands, if you do not release those terrorists from your jails, we might release this pathogen in your country. Okay, so that might happen. That is bioterrorism. Terrorism in the form of release of these pathogens that might cause some diseases. Then antimicrobial resistance can also cause this. Currently, what is happening? TB, it is a disease which is easily treatable. However, now the TB bacteria, it has become more and more resistant to the normal medicines that are being used for treatment of tuberculosis or TB, right? So we have now extensively drug resistant TB. We have multiple drug resistant TB, right? In future, the TB bacteria might develop itself in such a way that it will become resistant to all the category of drugs that are being used. So what will happen? We wouldn't have any medicine to treat the TB patient. So that patient will die, and the people who are in contact with that person might also get that disease. So antimicrobial resistance is also something that might lead to a possible disease X. Okay. Yeah, Anushka is stating that permafrost thawing can also cause such a disease. Yes, there is something called zombie virus. So at Antarctica, in Antarctica, the ice sheets are melting, and new viruses in both Antarctica as well as in the Greenland region where we have the ice caps, they are melting. And what will it lead to? It will lead to emergence of new and new pathogens that were up until now caged under the layer of ice. Because of global warming, this ice is melting, and these viruses and pathogens, they are now coming to the surface. Now, because they had been caged under the ice many years ago, humans, they have not they have developed only very recently compared to that. So we do not have any kind of resistance against these pathogens. So that might be another source of disease X. Now, what are the prevention and mitigation strategies? First, to address bioterrorism, there needs to be international guidelines against this, how it can be prevented, how labs can be made more safe against any such activities. Second, we need to collaborate at a global level so that if in any country any new pathogen is found, the information about that must be shared amongst the global community so that we can identify that pathogen, conduct research so that if any disease is caused by that pathogen in the future, we know how to control and eliminate that particular disease. Then, if the patients, they are identified in any region, there should be travel restrictions that should be immediately imposed. In case of COVID, what happened? Many countries did impose travel restrictions on China, on people coming from China, but many did not. And that led to what? That led to spread of the disease all across the world. Also, if the disease has started to spread in any region, we should ensure that we have enough availability of test kits, vaccines, and medicines if they have been developed. Okay, so in case of COVID, what happened? In initial stages, there was a problem with regards to availability of test kits, of protective gear, of vaccines. Vaccines were not even there. Medicines that many people thought might be useful, right, like remdesivir, they were also in huge shortage. So WHO has warned that this problem should not occur in the future. Next, mass testing, contact tracing, and surveillance. This was done, you must be aware of all these terms. This was done during the COVID pandemic as well. Okay, so if any person was tested positive to that disease, his entire itinerary was checked, where all he went, which or people were there when that person was in that location. So contact tracing was done, proper surveillance was done in order to ensure that this disease does not spread. This was done beautifully in the state of Kerala in the month of July 2020, where January, where 3 cases did come positive for COVID, but COVID did not spread then. COVID spread in India only from February. Kerala was able to control it through contact tracing. Awareness creation, definitely. We need to create awareness amongst the people, amongst the local people, that in future these things might happen. So you need to be prepared. Also, people, they need to be told that they should not use the antimicrobials in a unnecessary fashion, so that their body does not get resistance against those antimicrobials. Also, One Health approach needs to be adopted. One Health approach has been explained multiple times in various webinars. One Health approach is treating the health of humans, animals, and plants in conjunction with each other, not in different silos. Because the viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens from animals, they might in future start affecting humans. They might start affecting plants. The plants one may start affecting humans. Human ones may start affecting plants or animals. So the pathogens, they would not see what is human, what is animal, what is plant. If they gain enough power, if they gain enough resistance, enough virility, they will just jump from one living thing to other living thing. Okay, so that is why the health of the entire ecosystem, including humans, plants, and animals, it should be considered together, so that the veterinary doctors, if they find a new disease that is for the first time identified, they should share this information to the doctors, human doctors, as well as the plant doctors. Okay, so there should be a good communication network between the three agencies. Vivek, they can jump. What happens is that usually an animal might have a disease, but that disease will never come to humans. Why? Because that particular pathogen requires a certain system which the humans do not have, a certain design of the cells which the humans do not have, some chromosomes or DNA that humans do not have. Okay, but what will happen over time? The virus, it will mutate itself in such a way that it can live both in the animals as well as in the plants. So it is mutation that will lead to this jumping of the pathogens from one to another. Now, what is monoclonal antibodies? Okay, so Priyanshu, the reason why scientists, they are not able to create vaccines for various diseases is that a long time needs to be taken for development of these vaccines, to check whether they are properly eliminating that virus, protecting against that virus or that disease in every person, whether they are not causing any kind of side effect. So a lot of time and a lot of money goes into the research. Okay, so we are short of money. Many countries do not have enough money for research and development work, and many, they do, they do not have enough time to conduct the research. Okay. So monoclonal antibodies. What are monoclonal antibodies? They are type of proteins that are created in labs. They are laboratory made proteins, so they are created artificially, not naturally. They are lab made proteins that can mimic, that can copy the way in which our immune system it fights off harmful pathogens. So our immune system it releases certain antibodies which helps in fighting off these external diseases, right? Our white blood cells they do that activity. So these monoclonal antibodies, they are lab made antibodies. What are antibodies? They are basically proteins. Lab based antibodies, lab made antibodies that can copy the way in which our actual immune system is trying to fight off any particular disease. Now it is called monoclonal. Mono means one, single. Mono means single. Clonal means copy. They are known as monoclonal because they are derived from a single type of immune cell, that is the B cell. Okay, so they are derived from these B cells that are present in our body, and these are then created in the laboratory, derived from them and multiplied in the labs. Now, these are designed to target some specific molecules that are on the surface of the pathogens or the cells that they are infecting. Very specific molecules. See, they are lab made. So, because they are lab made, we can tweak them, change them in such a way that they are targeting a particular thing. They are not randomly targeting multiple things. They are just targeting one particular protein of that is existing in the pathogen that is causing the disease in our body, or one particular protein of the cell, so that the pathogen which is infecting that cell can get killed because of that change in the cell. Okay, so they are very targeted. So this key advantage of monoclonal antibodies is their specificity. They are very specific. They can identify, just like Arjun, they can identify the target without looking here and there. They'll identify their target, hit the target and eliminate it. Okay, so they are just like Arjun. So what are the uses? Now there are multiple uses of monoclonal antibodies. Okay. So various types of immune cells. There are B cells, mainly B cell and T cell. Okay, so there are types of white blood cells. ICAR is Indian Council for Agriculture Research. Pathogen is any microorganisms that can cause diseases in plants, animals, or humans. Now, what are the uses of these monoclonal antibodies? First, they are used for therapeutic use. They are used for cure of many diseases, like many types of cancers, many autoimmune diseases, many inflammatory diseases. Okay, so mainly they are used in treatment of certain diseases. These monoclonal antibodies, they are used in treatment of certain diseases. They are also used for diagnostic purposes, specifically to diagnose whether or not a person has HIV or AIDS, or whether or not the person is pregnant. So mainly to identify whether a person is pregnant or not, monoclonal antibodies are also are used sometimes. Whether or not a person has AIDS, for that also monoclonal antibodies are used. Okay, so monoclonal antibodies, they are laboratory made, Pratik. They are derived from B cells, they are derived from them, but they are eventually then modified in the labs. Okay, derived from there, they are not 100% artificial. The base is the B cells, then these B cells, they are modified, and then they are used in the people. Okay, so these are monoclonal antibodies. They are often used in research tools as well for the research purposes to understand certain specific functions of any, say, protein, of any antigen, to understand the functioning of an antigen, of a protein. They are also used for that purposes. They are also used for immunotherapy. So what is immunotherapy? Specifically in case of cancer, what happens? Sometimes our immune system, it is not able to identify the cancer cell and eliminate them. So what happens is that these monoclonal antibodies, these monoclonal antibodies, Samar, thank you for that. I'll just continue. These monoclonal antibodies, what do? They block certain proteins which are preventing the immune system from targeting the cancer molecule or the cancer cell. This is cancer cell. Okay, this is a particular protein blocking the access of the immune system to eliminate this cancer cell. So when monoclonal antibodies, they are introduced in our body, these proteins which are blocking the access of the immune system to these cancer cells, they are eliminated by the introduction of this monoclonal antibody. Okay, so what can happen now? This blocking protein is removed, so immune system can target and kill those cancer cells. Okay, now, monoclonal antibodies, they have also been used globally in various medical contexts, like for the treatment of diseases like COVID-19. Okay, so they were used for that purpose as well. It was not a sure shot way of treating COVID-19, but there was experimental use of monoclonal antibodies, and they did work successfully in curing the patients from COVID-19. Now, currently, you know that Kerala was facing a Nipah outbreak. Now, COVID had a mortality rate of 2%. Nipah has a mortality rate of 40 to 70%. So that makes Nipah a very dangerous disease. Right now, we do not have any cure for Nipah in the world. Now, what is happening globally? There are 14 people who have been provided monoclonal antibodies that were developed initially in USA. They were sent to Australia as well. 14 people, they were provided these monoclonal antibodies, and they were showing certain positive results. So recently, the government has decided to allow Kerala to get these monoclonal antibodies from Australia for treatment of the patients within Kerala. Okay, so that is why monoclonal antibodies, they were in news. Now here is a practice question. Disease X, which was in news recently, is an antiviral resistant strain of coronavirus, a disease caused by zombie virus discovered in Antarctica, a possible future disease that can cause a pandemic worse than COVID-19, a disease caused by a virus found in the deep oceans that has the ability to kill whales. I'm just giving you 10 seconds. Sorry. Okay. So yes, you have given the correct answer. It is C, a possible future disease that can cause a pandemic worse than COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Donovan, Nipah is not that serious in India right now because it has been contained in the state of Kerala. It has not come to other parts of India as of now. Okay. Now we have the next topic, which is offshore wind energy plant of India. Now, India's first offshore wind project, it will come in the state of Tamil Nadu by the end of this year. The tender for the same, it has been floated already by the union government. So now the bidding will occur, and the bidder who wins, they will get a chance to develop India's first offshore wind energy project in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, the seabed site, the site where this will be established, it will be allocated by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, so MNRE will be identifying and providing the site where this offshore wind project will come up. Now, what do you mean by offshore wind energy? See, wind energy is what? There is a wind turbine, the fans of which they move because of the wind, right? It is connected to a generator, and this generator produces electricity. So this is the basic concept behind wind energy. Now, usually what happens is that we need a large piece of land to establish these windmills on. In case of offshore wind energy, what happens is that instead of installing the windmills on land, we install them off the shore, on the oceans or the seas. So this is the sea, this is the seabed. Here, these wind turbines, they are installed. So this is offshore wind energy. Now, the first such offshore wind energy plant was developed and established in Denmark. Since then, many countries, because of the benefits that offshore wind energy provides over the normal wind energy, which we'll take a look at in the next slide, because of that, since then, many countries, they have established such wind energy plants. United Kingdom, Germany, Netherlands, and USA. Now, what is the benefit? Yes, Chaitanya, you're correct. Now, what is the benefit of these offshore plants compared to the normal land-based wind energy plants? See, what happens is that over the land, there are many buildings, there are trees, there are shrubs, so many things, electricity poles and wires that can reduce the speed of the wind. Okay, so if the speed of the wind is reduced, the wind turbine, the speed at which it is moving, it will reduce. So that will reduce the amount of electricity that is generated. In case of offshore wind plant, what happens? Over the surface of the seas, there is no such things like buildings, like plants, like shrubs, like other creations by human beings like bridges. There's nothing like that. So that is why what is there? There is a reduced friction over the water surface compared to the land surface. So the wind speeds, they are higher compared to that on the land. So this improves the amount of energy that can be generated over the oceans, over on in the offshore plants compared to the land based plants. Also, the wind patterns over the seas, they are very much reliable compared to that on the land. On the land, many things might happen. There might be, say, urban heat island impact, which might change the way in which the winds are moving. There might be some major obstructions to the movement of the wind. Now, Because of that, on the land, the movement of wind is not that predictable compared to the over the water, over the seas and the oceans. So that is why they are more reliable and predictable sources of energy compared to the land based wind energy plants. Also, these wind turbines, when they move, they create a lot of noise. Also, many a times, people, they are not very willing to have wind turbines near their houses. It obstructs the beautiful scenery. Also, it can have a lot of noise that will be generated. So these problems, they are addressed in the oceans. Human beings, they won't listen to those noises. They won't have to see the bad visuals. The noise will only be heard by the aquatic animals. We don't care. Okay, only humans will be happy. Next, decreased land use conflicts. See, land is a very important resource, especially in a country like India. So to acquire a huge amount of land that is required for these wind turbines to be placed, that is a very difficult task. No such problem will be faced in the offshore plants. There's no, it is India's territorial water, the government of India's property, right? No one has a claim on that property. So there will be a reduction in land conflicts. Definitely, it will create a lot of jobs, both directly as well as indirectly. How directly? Because of the presence of the wind turbine. Indirectly, generation of a huge amount of stable and reliable power, which can be provided to the various industries, so that those industries, they can establish their plants there and provide the jobs to the locals. Also, scalability means increasing the size of the project. Currently you have 10 wind turbines. Now you want to increase the size, you want to deploy 20 wind turbines, because there is no issue of availability of land in this location. So scalability of such plants is also easier compared to the land based plants. Okay. Okay, Nandana, yes, it might disturb the marine animals, but what to do? Okay, so what are the efforts by the government to support this, to support the offshore wind plants? Government of India in October 2015, it released the offshore wind energy policy, and this policy aimed to generate 1 gigawatt of electricity through the offshore wind plants by the year 2020. We did not fulfill that, and in fact we do not have any offshore wind power plants as of now. The tender for the first one has been released. This power plant of Tamil Nadu, it has not come into being. Okay, the nodal institute is National Institute of Wind Energy of Chennai. Sharad, scalability means increasing the size of the farm. Now you have 10, you want 20 later, so you can easily increase the scale or the size of the farm. Yes, Suparno, it is definitely very expensive as well. So, Sundaresh, the sites will be chosen in such a way that they do not inhibit the movement of the ships. Now, National Institute of Wind Energy located in Chennai has been declared as a nodal agency for offshore wind energy plants. The guidelines for offshore wind power assessment studies and surveys, it was released with the help of this institute in the year 2018. So all things were done way back in 2015 to 18. However, still till date, we do not have any such plants. Now, potential locations, they were also identified in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Now, offshore, please note, this is a very important point. Offshore wind has also been included in the list of activities to be considered for trading of carbon credits under Paris Agreement. So, if we develop any carbon trading mechanism, what will be the carbon trading mechanism? It means that if I am giving a quote, I have been given, every industry has been given a quota that you can only release 100 kg of carbon per year. However, my industry, it is releasing 120 kgs, whereas your industry is releasing only 80 kgs. So what will happen? I will buy your 20 kg quota from you, so that I will be paying you, so you will get benefited because you are releasing less amount of carbon, and I will not be fined because I bought this quota from you. So this is carbon trading. In future, if we develop a carbon trading mechanism, then that will include the offshore wind projects. So whatever amount of energy is being carbon is being saved due to these offshore wind projects, that can be sold to other industries which are releasing excess carbon compared to what their quota is. Government has also allowed an FDI of up to 100% under automatic route. You need not take permission from the government to bring in foreign direct investment in the offshore wind energy sector. You will be allowed to have 100% foreign direct investment in this sector. So please note that it is not just for the offshore wind, but for all renewable energy projects. Okay. Now here is a practice question. How many of the following statements are true? India's first offshore wind energy farm has come up in Tamil Nadu. Denmark was the first country to establish an offshore wind energy plant. 100% FDI from automatic route are allowed for offshore wind energy projects. So I'm again giving you 10 seconds. Okay. Most of you have given the correct answer. This is incorrect. It has not come up. It will come up by the end of the year. So it was a trick statement. This is correct. This was just to identify whether you are paying attention or not. This is correct. Yes, Denmark was the first country. This is also correct. 100% FDI from automatic route is allowed. So your correct answer is option B. Now, sixth topic on Zealandia. Now, Zealandia, it is a potential eighth continent, not been declared a continent yet, a potential contender of being declared the eighth continent of the world. So, a detailed map of this potential eighth continent, it has been made by the geologist of the southern part of South Zealandia. It has been made by the scientists. So what is Zealandia? Okay. So what is Zealandia and why is it considered as the eighth continent? So this is New Zealand. You know New Zealand, right? This is Australia. So earlier it was thought that New Zealand, it is a part of Australian continent. Later on, a lot of research was done, and in the year 2017, a research was finally published that New Zealand is actually a part of Zealandia. Okay, it is a part of Zealandia. Now, Zealandia, it is being proposed as the eighth continent. Why? What all features are required for any landmass to be called a continent? Here are the features. The elevation of that land, it should be above the surrounding oceanic crust. Okay, you know there is oceanic crust and there is continental crust. You must have studied in geography, right? Oceanic crust, it is denser, basaltic. Continental crust is lighter, based off silica mainly. Okay, so what happens is that this crust, the lighter crust, it stays above the surrounding oceanic crust. So the first point how we can differentiate a continent and a non-continent is that the elevation should be above the surrounding oceanic crust. Second, the geology should be diverse. There should be many types of rocks, rock formations, landforms that should be seen on that particular island, on that particular land. The crust should be thicker than what is found in the oceans. It should be thicker than the oceanic crust. If oceanic crust is say 10 meter, just a hypothetical number, this thickness should be more than that. Also, the area should be greater than 1 million square kilometer. So size is another issue. Also, it should have clearly defined limits. So these are certain ways in which you can identify whether it is a continent. Now, then you will say that why are Europe and Asia different continents? Why are they not the same continent? Because it is a continuous landmass. See, apart from these considerations, certain cultural and historical considerations they can also differentiate the continents. So what happened is that historically the European people said that our continent is different. They wanted to differentiate themselves from the Asians. So they said, we are a different continent divided by the Urals. You are a different continent. Okay. However, the landmass is same. Many experts say that Europe and Asia should not be the same continent, should not be different continent. It should be a single continent known as Eurasia. Okay. Some of you are making some very funny comments. Okay. Now, what is the difference between an island and a continent? Why is Greenland not a continent? Why is Australia not an island? Okay. See, if two land masses, they are separated from each other just by the presence of water. For example, if say the sea level has increased and earlier it was a single landmass, but now it has been separated by water, then that, and they are part of the same continental crust, then this smaller part is an island. It is not a separate continent. If the two land masses are separated from each other by oceanic crust, not just ocean or water, by oceanic crust, then they can be different continents. Greenland is a part of the continental crust of North America, and that is why it is not a separate continent. It is an island. Australia has a separate continental crust, and that is why it is a continent and not an island. Okay. Now, however, forgot to tell you that Zealandia, it has a very small area, only 5 million square kilometer, and 94% of it is underwater. The most prominent part which is above water is the country of New Zealand. Now we come to the practice question: which of the following statements are true? Zealandia has been declared as eighth continent. Majority of this continent is submerged under water. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Okay. So most of you have given the correct answer. This is incorrect. It hasn't yet been declared. This is correct. Majority of the continent, 94% of it is underwater. Okay, some of you are asking, Ram Shankar is asking, what is Te Ria Ul Moi? It is the local name for the continent of Zealandia. The name given by the locals, the tribal population of New Zealand. Now we come to the last topic. Okay, yeah. Himanshu stated a good point that I had stated continent. I should have stated it as landmass. I'm so sorry. Okay, because it is not declared a continent yet. Okay. Now we come to the short section. In short section, we have three different topics, one slide each. We'll go through it very quickly because we have just 10 minutes left. Okay. First is index of 8 core industries. Okay. Now, 8 core industries, it includes 8 sectors of the economy that also act as a feeder for other industries. That means the output of these 8 industries acts as input for many other industries. Okay, so that is why they are known as feeder industries. They are feeding many other industries. Now, the total weight of these items that are included in these 8 core industries makes up of 42.27% of weightage of the index of industrial production. Okay. So index of industrial production, it tells us that how much production increased compared to the last month. How much of our industrial production has increased compared to last month. That is index of industrial production. Now, 40.27% of the weightage of IIP, it comes from these core industries. Okay. Now, in order of their weightage in this index of 8 core industries, what is the weightage of various industries and what are the various industries included here? First, we have the refinery products, then electricity sector, steel sector, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement, and fertilizers. A previous year question was asked regarding the weightage in ascending or descending order of the various components of the index of 8 core industries. Okay, so this becomes important. Now, this index, please note, this index is released by Office of Economic Advisor. Okay, the base year for this index is 2011-12. Now, who releases IIP? Earlier, the CSO, Central Statistical Organization, used to release it, but now it is released by the National Statistical Office. Okay, IIP is Index of Industrial Production. Next short is social bonds. Now, social bonds, you know what bonds are. In the previous webinar, we covered what bonds are, right? So, social bonds, they are issued by an entity to raise funds for projects or initiatives that might have a positive social or environmental impact. So, these are the social bonds. Now, any entity, government, public, private, and NGO, developmental organization, they can issue these social bonds. However, there is one very important aspect related to social bonds. The entity which is releasing these bonds, they should also release what all metrics they will use to calculate whether the money that has been raised by the social bonds has had an impact on the thing that the bond was raised for. For example, if the bond was raised for increasing the availability of sanitation facility in a particular region, if the money was raised for this purpose, then there should be proper metrics to identify whether this purpose was solved, whether the number of toilets increased, whether the availability of water in toilets increased, whether the number of people who had toilets in their houses increased. So there should be a specific metric to measure the success of these bonds. Now, there are three types of social bonds. First is the green bonds. In the green bonds, they are specifically for environmentally friendly projects like development of green or renewable energy projects, conservation of biodiversity, afforestation, and so on. So, green projects are for environmentally friendly projects. Social impact bonds are for social welfare programs, like I said, for example, for sanitation purpose, to increase access of education, increase access of healthcare. Then there are sustainability bonds, which are both for environment as well as society. So these bonds cover a broader range of projects. Now, one of the earliest examples of the bonds that are issued with a clear social mission, one of the earliest example of a social bond was a bond named as Kangaroo Bond, released by World Bank to help in conservation efforts in Australia. Now, why was this in news? This topic was in news because recently NABARD, National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development, it released India's first externally rated rupee denominated social impact bond. Externally rated, that means external agencies, they have given a rating to this bond as to whether or not this bond is reliable, whether if you invest money in this bond, the money will be used for successful purposes and you'll get back the money. The rating given by these external agencies to this bond was triple A minus. The highest rating is triple A plus. Okay, so that means this bond is quite reliable, and that is why social bonds, they were in news. The last topic is Toto Shabd Sangrah. Now, Toto Shabd Sangrah. Shabd Sangrah is what? A Hindi term for a dictionary. So, it will be a dictionary that will be developed by the University of Calcutta in collaboration with a poet known as Bhakt Toto. Now, this poet writes poetry in the Toto language. Now, what is this Toto language? This Toto language is a Sino-Indian language of the Toto tribe. There is a tribe known as Toto tribe which lives in West Bengal, and this language is spoken by this Toto tribe. However, it is a minority language. Very less number of people have this language as their mother tongue. Now, it has also been considered as a critically endangered language according to UNESCO. Any language that has less than 10,000 less than 1,000 native speakers, that is considered as a critically endangered language by UNESCO. Now, mostly it is a spoken language. There is not a proper script that has been developed. You speak the language, but you cannot write it. So, in 2015, a person known as Dhaniram Toto, he developed a script for this language. It has been in use for the spoken purposes since a very long time. However, the script has been developed only very recently in the year 2015. Now, since this script is very nascent, it is very new, this dictionary that will be released, it will be developed in Bengali. Okay. So, where is this language mostly spoken? So, Toto tribes, it inhabits a place known as Totapara, Totopara, in West Bengal near the Indo-Bhutan border. Okay, so it is mostly spoken in Totopara and some parts of Jalpaiguri district of West Bengal. Why are they developing this dictionary? Is because we are trying to conserve this language because it is critically endangered. We are building efforts to conserve this language. Now, here comes the question for this section. How many of the following statements are true? Index of 8 core industries is released by Office of Economic Advisor. Toto is a Sino-Tibetan language. A bond released for development of an offshore wind energy plant can be called a green bond. Okay, I'm giving you 10 seconds once again. Just take your answer. Okay. Ritu, usually in return of bonds, what do you get? You get some interest along with your money, right? Same thing will happen here as well. You'll get some interest, and in the end, you might get back your money. Okay. So, index of 8 core industries, who releases it? Office of Economic Advisor. This is correct. Toto is, yes, a Sino-Tibetan language. Now, a bond released for development of an offshore wind energy plant. Now, offshore wind energy plant will be what? A renewable energy plant. I'm sorry, it is a Sino-Indian, not Sino-Tibetan. Okay, in the slide it was written Sino-Indian. So, this is incorrect. It will be a renewable energy plant. So, because it is a renewable energy plant, what will happen? It will be eligible for raising green bonds because green bonds are released for environmentally friendly projects, and this will be one of those projects. So, this is correct, and your correct answer over here will be this. Okay. Okay. So with that, we come to an end to this session. Just quickly, some of you have confusion regarding island and continent. I'll quickly explain that. This is a continental crust, a single continental crust. These land masses, because of rise in ocean level, they got separated from each other. However, the continental crust is same. So the smaller landmass, it will be the island. The bigger landmass, it will be the continent whose island will be the smaller landmass. If land masses are separated from each other, not just because of water, but because of oceanic crust, then they are two different continents. Okay. Now, Prateek, even though Zealandia mostly is immersed in water, it still is a contender for continent because it fulfills the various criteria that was stated in that slide to be called a continent. Okay. So, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I hope you were able to understand all the concepts we discussed today. So, thank you very much for staying this late, and all the best for your preparation. Thank you so much and have a very good night.